Yeah, before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge you all with all the hard work that you're doing today and tomorrow. Double duty with football, women's basketball media day earlier today, men's basketball media day tomorrow. So appreciate you helping tell the stories of our student athletes. So thank you. And a reminder, Micah Hyde is unfortunately not able to be with us today, but we will have him on the Zoom to talk about his ANF honor tomorrow at 10:45. Utilize that same Zoom link for the assistant coaches. So we'll have Micah at 10:45, followed by Omar Young. He'll talk about the running backs. So with that, we'll get to Coach Ferentz.
Thanks, Matt. Greetings to everybody, and I didn't realize you guys had that much going on, so good deal. Busy time, a lot going on. Again, looking back to Saturday real quickly, it was always good to win, to win a rivalry game, certainly get a trophy, and shutout's an extra bonus. But the biggest thing is just to go on the road in the conference and play well and get a victory is always a good thing. So happy about that, and I thought our team improved, which is, the bigger goal, obviously trying to move forward. Just a couple things to note, certainly, defensively, great effort, and guys like Montgomery jumping in there and, next man in, that type of deal, doing a really good job there. Good for Mark to fight through his injury and be out there and compete, and did a good job also. And kind of the same situation with the running backs. It's you don't know who's going to be out there each and every week. It's been kind of musical chairs, but those guys really did a good job collectively. And then have to mention Drew's performance. Stevens was very consistent and moves into number 2 all-time field goal. So compliments to him, just really great achievement there too. So really good. We got to move on quickly. Obviously, got back late or early Sunday morning, I guess, however you want to look at it. Night game on the road. So quick turnaround there, but we got to move on, and going to have to do it in really timely fashion because we got a big challenge on our hands here. Captains is the same 4 guys. We got Herkett and Entringer on the defensive side, and Gronowski and Logan Jones offensively. So those 4 guys, injury-wise, not a lot to really change. I don't think our running back situations change a great deal. I think, both backs right now are iffy. We'll see. I'm not optimistic. And then Jaden Harrell's making good progress, but I don't think he'll make it. We'll see. But not counting on him certainly to be ready in a full capacity. So, just kind of start there. Go back, talking about Penn State. Obviously, I've grown up in that part of the country, Western Pennsylvania, and probably started paying attention to college football, somewhere in the late 60s, I would guess. And for me, I think about linebackers that they had there. A guy, Denny Onkotz, played there back in the late 60s. Jack Ham, I think it was 1970. Had a running back, Charlie Pittman, 1969. And then a couple of years later, they had Lydell Mitchell and Franco Harris, 2 first-rounders. So my point is, going back however many years that is, 50-plus years, some really good players and really good teams. And quite frankly, from my vantage point, not a hell of a lot's changed in 50-some years, of Penn State football. They've got really good players. They're very well coached, and they've had a lot of really good teams. And I reference that time of that period because back then, they weren't in a conference. They were in the Big East, or they were, an Eastern power. Quite frankly, that part of the country didn't get much attention back then, much respect nationally. And remember them going down and playing in the Cotton Bowl, beating Texas, won the Orange Bowl, I believe, against Kansas. Kansas had 12 guys on the field for like 3 plays. They finally figured it out down in the goal line series. Got a penalty, and Penn State won. But point being, they were really good back then, and things haven't changed a heck of a lot. So really talented football team that we're going to be playing against. And they got a good coaching staff, and certainly they've got a good football team. So, that's kind of the way it's been the last, 50-plus years. And I think it's the same way right now. Obviously, they've got good players at every position. Just look at them. They've recruited extremely well, and you see it on the film. Older guys, younger guys, doesn't matter. They got a lot of talent there. And, they had a change on Sunday. Obviously, that was big news. And, that is what it is. But they've got 3 coordinators that are widely respected in collegiate football. And those guys are all there. I'm sure Coach Smith's going to do a great job tying it together. and they've still got the same players. So, it's going to be a big, big challenge for us. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Got our hands full and working on that, trying to get ready for the game from that standpoint. Kid captain this week, just touch on that real quickly, is Micah Norby, who's a first grader, 7-year-old first grader from Greenfield, Iowa. And just tell you a little bit about his history. When he was 5 years old, he was diagnosed with, make sure I get this right, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, something that affects the muscles and breakdown in the muscles, basically. And long story short, the care team at the Stead Children's Family Hospital found a treatment. It's a new treatment, and they started that at age 5. And it's really made a big, big difference. So he's the first child, as I understand it, to get that treatment in the state of Iowa, kind of cutting-edge stuff. And 2 years later now, he's really an active young guy, involved in swimming, fishing, just a really active first grader. And the family, gives the hospital credit for, really giving the family hope. So always a good story. And certainly it'd be great to have Micah and his family with us. And the last thing, speaking of Micah, as Matt already mentioned, Mike will be the ANF Hall of Fame recipient this week. And Mike is just, kind of one of our stories, I guess, if you will, was under-recruited a little bit, high school quarterback, really good athlete, unbelievable ball skills and unbelievable anticipation. Had just an outstanding career for us as a defensive back, obviously, and also an outstanding returner. And then went on and had a great NFL career, too. And coincidentally, I just coming in this morning talking, Pauline was talking about the Buffalo Bills, and obviously he's got ties to that organization, but talked about the safety play currently not being as good as it was a couple of years ago, and they had 2 really good safeties. Micah was one of those guys. But the bigger picture is just a tremendous human being, raising a great family right now. Was back here this past summer, did a golf outing, and worked it in conjunction with the Tippy School of Business. One of the professors that he had really made a big impact on him. So they've worked together to team that up, and benefits from the golf outing are going to the family hospital also. So kind of a cool little triangle that way. And, one of the good stories, I know it's not the main story in football. Everybody cares about wins and losses, but it'd be great to have Micah back. And, I think he's just a tremendous selection for that award. So that being said, great to be in Kenneck Saturday. Great to have it a night game. I'm sure it'll be lively in there, and we got just an outstanding challenge on our hands. So we'll look forward to that, and I'll throw it out for questions.
Chad Lysico,
Excuse me.
Des Moines Register. If you peeled off your headset Saturday, you might have heard fire Fickle chants. You see what happened at Penn State this past weekend. I guess I'm just curious your thoughts on how difficult it is to just in college football have the longevity that you guys have had here.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not smiling about any of the circumstances. Smiling. I take my headsets off. I don't listen to anything or anybody. I've learned how to actually not listen to the noise because there's plenty of it, good or bad. But, I was throwing my tie on in there and thinking about that a little bit. And to me, probably the one that stands out to me is when Coach Elton got fired at USC. It's been 2 or 3 years ago. Kind of broke the ice. And I was teasing the NFL guys that were here today. Just that, that world's crept down into our world, and it's just a sign of the times. It's the world we're living in right now. It's unfortunate in a lot of ways, I think, and but it's just the world we're living in. It's not going to change. In fact, it's going to change. It's going to keep getting more aggressive. So I think, I just think we live in reactionary times, me personally, and I understand that. I'm not being accusatory or judgmental at all, but we live in reactionary times. So I learned a lot when I was in pro football, 6 years wise, about football and about other things, and I guess maybe that helps you down the road a little bit. The other thing I'd point out real quick, I haven't heard anything about graduation rates in the last 4 days. So again, it just illustrates where we're at right now, and it's unfortunate. Or having a great college experience. I mean, throw that stuff out there too.
Hey, Kirk, Elliot Clough, Hawkeye Insider.
Maybe we got to change our program goals. I mean, we're all screwed up. Graduation, great experience on campus, and maximizing your football career. Pretty simple, but yeah, might have to alter that a little bit.
Hey, Kirk, Elliot Clough, Hawkeye Insider. I know a few years ago Nebraska had a coaching change before they came here, and I don't know if they showed things that maybe you weren't expecting. But I guess how does that change your preparation for Penn State, or does it change it at all?
I think the key thing are, again, as I mentioned, the coordinators. Typically, and head coaches, everything runs through a head coach. Needless to say, and decisions on game day run through the head coach too, typically. But philosophically, I can't imagine they're going to change much, and I don't know why they would. They don't need to. But yeah, just what the reaction is going to be. Nobody can predict it. It seems like recently in our conference they made a change, and that team's done very well. So my guess is these guys are going to come in ready to play, and they've got a really good football team. So we need to get ready for what I think we're seeing on tape.
Hey, Kirk. Corey Rada from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Kind of a broader question. You probably addressed it in the past. I know some programs, they have a clock management guy, a coach on the staff that takes care of that, is in the ear of the head coach in those situations. Do you take care of that yourself? Have you switched how you've done that over the years, or what has been your philosophy? Who do you rely on in those 2-minute situations, end of half, end of game?
We do have a guy that has the charts, whether it be go for 2, clock management, how much time is left, when can we kill the clock without the opponent getting the ball back, all that kind of stuff. When do you? Northwestern's guy broke through and took a knee the other day. Smart play, all those kinds of things. We blew that against Minnesota in 15 when LaShawn took that one to the house on a power play, short yardage play. We should have gone down there, but anyway, yeah. So we have somebody that has a firm chart, but then we also have somebody assigned to just thinking the situation out a little bit, and then we all confer as the situations are coming or taking place. Yeah, but you have to. It's almost overwhelming, and it can give you a real headache. You start thinking about some of the scenarios that can come up. It's really amazing.
Ethan Peacher, Quad City Times. I'm curious how you've seen Mark take on a leadership role, and then what impact does a quarterback who's maybe not fully 100% but healthy enough to play for his teammates to see that? What kind of impact does that have on the team?
Yeah, his leadership role, as I've said before, it really got challenged because he came in off of surgery. So he was here and he was doing everything we were doing, but he wasn't doing it. Wasn't doing the hard work, the heavy lifting. And I think he's, whether it's smart enough or maybe more wisdom than smart, but just, he had a good feel of how to handle the situation. Didn't try to force himself. He's a quarterback. That's a leadership position, and he's naturally wired that way. But I thought he just let it happen really organically. He played it right. And then when he was able to start doing some of the, the hard stuff, the summer program, he was right in there with the guys and really excelled in that regard. So you could just see it over the course of the summer. Everybody's respect for him just really grew. And then once we started practicing football in August, it just, continued to compound. And, the thing in the last week was, he's not going to get a Purple Heart, but there has to be medical clearance first and foremost. And then the rest of it is, we got to make a judgment as coaches. Is he capable of playing effectively? And then, is he going to be able to do his job, or is he going to be out there worried about his condition? So that was the last step. Is just at the end of the week asking him, "Are you confident? Are you confident?" And don't give me a hero's answer. And I appreciate during the game, he said, "I can't finish this thing," 2 games ago. So the candidness there is really appreciated. And then he went out and played. He wasn't full speed or 100%, I don't think, but at least he played really well. And things like that, yeah. I mean, you're either earning credit or you're not earning credit, as a football player, I think, and that's. You can't fool each other. That's one thing about it. It's like families. Like everybody knows what's going on in a family, and football teams are the same way, I think. And I think he's just done nothing but impress everybody here.
Owen Seaman, KGAN. I wanted to ask about the dynamic of coaching a father and a son, which you did with Jerry and Jaden Montgomery. Now, I don't know if that's the first one that you've had in your program to be a father and a son, but just
Cole Croston.
Yeah. What's that?
Cole Croston.
Sure, of course.
We get some guys from the 80s. I'm dating myself now.
Yeah.
That was my first reality check when a couple of those guys moved in with my son, Steve.
Sure.
I was like,
Yeah.
I coached your dad. That's not good.
I've been more kind of in the mindset of the head coaching era. Too,
I got you.
with them and LeVar and Mason you have now. But
So you make it even worse now. You're compounding the issue here. Thank you.
Not many yet. But I just wondered about, like, maybe some memories you have of Jerry, how him and Jaden might be similar, and just, kind of that dynamic you have now with LeVar and Mason, too, having a father and son you've coached.
Yeah, the first thing I remember about Jerry was just how helpful he was in recruiting. He was a good player, but I mean, we were 1-10 our first year, and we brought prospects in. You get feedback from recruits about, hey, this guy, that guy, and the host and the guys on our team. And two guys I would point out, Eric Steinbach and Jerry Montgomery were two guys that were just unbelievable with recruits, hospitality, just making them feel comfortable. So Jerry's got that kind of personality, and then he chose to go into coaching. He just excelled at it. He's done a really nice job. But yeah, there's a little something to that. I think if if the dads have played, at least they're it's 20 some years. There's a gap there, but there's still some help there. I think because they better understand what it might be like when they get here. The other thing I'll say about Jaden, I mean, Jaden probably got like 3 times the GPA that Jerry had. Jaden's like a 4.0 student, so that came from mom. I know that. So like usual, yep, the good stuff.
David Eichel, HawkeyesInsider.com. Kirk, what have you seen from Penn State's new starting quarterback? Unfortunately, Drew Rowler's, his
really
career's
not
gonna
much.
end that way.
Yeah.
And then I guess what are your kind of early thoughts about him? And then on a separate note, what did you think of Reese Vanderzee on Saturday? Are you going to continue to kind of up his snap count? I think he played 27 snaps against Wisconsin. Has he kind of progressed the way you'd like to post-injury?
Yeah, he's doing fine. I actually walked in next to him coincidentally this morning and just asked him about it. He says, I feel great. So, yeah, we'll keep ramping up the volume a little bit. We just want to be smart about it so we don't go backwards. But good to get him back. And anytime you add to a group, that's a good thing, especially with a guy who's, I think on the upward swing right now. So good to get him back. The quarterback, we just have, 20-some plays or something like that. I don't know, but it's not. It's kind of like when Heck went in the other night. He wasn't exactly winging it around, and it's kind of the same situation. So we'll learn as we go on. But I just know this: they don't have many guys on their roster that aren't really good. So my guess is he's going to play just fine.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. You played Zach a little bit at cornerback. Just curious as to what led to that decision, and do you anticipate that just being a one-time thing against Wisconsin, or is that something that you could work in the rest of the season?
No, I think I've said all along. I mean, Zach's one guy in our secondary that probably could play all 5 of the spots if you include the dime position. So he's got some versatility, and I think it just gives us a way to rotate guys through. And right now those 4 guys plus Deshaun, we think we have 5 starters against Wisconsin because of the way they do things, their personnel. We envision being in 40 more than the dime package. So it just gave us another way to maybe split those reps up a little between him and Deshaun, and I think it worked out just fine. We'll see how it goes, but most teams aren't going to be in those heavier groupings typically, so we'll probably be back in dime a lot more, I'm guessing, down the road, probably all season for the most part at least. Yep.
Hey, Kirk, Jack Lita with KCRG. We spoke to Reese Vanderzee for the first time in a little while. It's one thing for him to just kind of sit and let his foot heal, but mentally for him, I'm sure it wasn't easy to just have a freak injury and now he's off the field. How did you see him kind of take that challenge and go from, aw shucks, and go to leaning on his teammates, and he told us his faith, and basically mentally get in the headspace of, okay, I'm off the field now, but what can I still do to grow?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing about injuries, quite frankly. I think is the psychology part of it, and I'm not minimizing the injury itself and the rehab that goes into it. Typically, his was not so much like strenuous or painful rehab. That was more about healing, because of the nature of his injury. But nonetheless, just the separation. And anybody that's ever played sports and has been hurt knows this. If you miss one practice, and just you're standing there with your team, but you feel like you're miles away from them. It just, there's a psychology to it that I think is really challenging, and that's where I think our training staff's everywhere, but our training staff they're the unsung heroes because they're with the athletes more than we are typically during those periods, and it's just a really, really tough thing to go through. You feel separate, you're not part of it, but then to flip it around to finish up on your question, I always go back to Brian Balaga. He was a true freshman. We were going to start him week 2. He got hurt his shoulder. I guess it was against Northern Illinois, so we didn't start him. He's out 3 weeks, comes back, and the first day he was back, first Tuesday he was back. I can tell you where we were back on the old fields, and he picked up a blitz pickup that was pretty impressive in practice, and I'm standing there dumbfounded, like how could a young guy do what he just did? And my takeaway was that when he was out, he was really wired in, like he was paying attention, and just try to encourage players, like if you can't go physically, up your mental game, and you're not working on your skills, the hard part of it, but you can mentally, gain ground if you're smart about it. And it's easier for older guys to do that than it is younger guys. So it's, credit to Reese there, and hopefully every guy's doing that when they are out, because it's hard. It's just really tough.
Kirk.
Yep.
Jeff Dubroff, KCCI. We were talking to Logan Jones earlier. He thought this last game against Wisconsin was the best example of complementary football that he's been a part of since being here. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that, if you agree, and then what more do you want to see in terms of executing complementary football, which I know can be difficult.
Yeah, it's every week. I mean, it's just a challenge every week, and your opponents are usually the ones that make it a challenge. But yeah, there were a lot of good things that happened Saturday. Cherry pick a couple things, like, right at the end of the half, we had the ball, whatever it was, 20-some yard line, and you're hoping to get a little something going. And if you do, maybe something good's going to happen. You don't want to give the opponent the ball before halftime. And all of a sudden, we strung a nice little drive together and got a field goal out of it. Came out and got a 3-and-out defensively, and then took the ball and went 60, I think, for a touchdown, however many play drive. So just that sequence there of, getting 10 points without them, their 3 plays and our 10 points combined. Pretty good example of what we're trying to do. Or in a perfect world, you like to see that happen. And, you're trying to do it all the time, but it doesn't always materialize. That's the challenge. And again, the opponents have a lot to do with that. But, just playing one segment, playing off the other is really kind of what you're hoping for each and every week.
Madison Hertz at the Gazette.
Yep.
A lot of people, including the players, talked about there were a lot of really good things that happened in Wisconsin, but the players also mentioned that there were some nitpicky things that went wrong as well. I'm curious, when you rewatched that game, what were some of the things that you saw that maybe somebody like a casual football fan wouldn't notice off the bat, or things that could continue to be improved?
Yeah, I mean, there's always something. And like the yardage doesn't reflect the score the other night, and that's typical sometimes when games, like you get 2 turnovers right off the bat, and one we had to go 6 inches, out to score. So that was, that can be a little bit misleading sometimes, and then the way you play when you get a lead changes things a little bit too. But there's every film, like there's always things that we could get better at, and that's in all 3 segments. So that's where I made the point earlier, my remarks, just, it was good to get the win, obviously, but I think we improved. I think our preparation was really good a week ago, and then I thought we improved on the game field. The intensity was there, the effort was there the entire game, just not always where we needed it to be, or the execution wasn't what you need. But I'll tell you, we could play 15 weeks, and it'll be that way. There's always something you can always find something. I'll go back. I'll cherry pick Minnesota in 2002. That was our last game of the year, and we played pretty well. But then you sit down and watch a film, there's like, here's 15 things that, boy, we got to. So there's always a challenge. And if guys are thinking right, then they'll work on those things instead of patting themselves on the back. And it's okay to pat, and they can do that for about an hour, and then we got to move on here. Got to go.
Yep. Chad Leistikow again. Do you remember where you were when you saw Devontae Ross transfer to Penn State, and you knew we were going to face him for a second straight year? And what is it? Nice?
No, I don't remember where I was, but I remember what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just is it in a way? Is it good to have a guy? Your secondary certainly probably has the attention of him.
Our goal this year is to get a hand on him. Okay, just I swear to God, I've never seen that in a game. It's almost impossible to do, but we witnessed it, so it's not impossible. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And now they got 2 other guys too, so it's like, okay, it's interesting. I mean, they went out and attracted 3. I'm not saying they attracted 3 really good receivers. So, and he's one of them. Certainly, we didn't have much luck against him. So, but that's an illustration. I mean, the way they've got guys at every position that can beat you, in one play. So we just need to be at our absolute best.
Jonah Krell with WQAD. Coach, when you're facing a team that's lost its head coach, lost its starting quarterback, it might be easy for some players' eyes to widen a little bit with the opportunity they're facing. What do you say to them, or how do you get them prepared to keep them level-headed when you're facing a team that's struggling like Penn State?
This one's really easy. All I got to do is look at the tape. Any segment, just look at the tape. And, They're probably not smart enough to play here if they don't see it. Like, you've got to respect these guys have really good players. As I mentioned, they've got 3 coordinators that are really respected in the business, by everybody. So two are very well known. I think their special teams coordinator, he's actually out of that Erie Mafia, if you will, the Hinkle, Bob Sanders era. I'm pretty sure he went to Cathedral Prep too, and he's an outstanding special teams coach, and has been for a long time before he went to Penn State. He's really a guy who's, rightfully garnered a very lofty reputation as a special teams coach. So they got good players, good coaches, and there's going to be nothing easy about this game. I know that.
Hey, Kirk, Elliot Clough, Hawkeye Insider. I know you were asked about Jaden Montgomery a little bit ago. I just wanted to ask about your thoughts on his first start at Mike linebacker and how he played.
I mean, the good news is we just played. We went out and played as a unit and really played, and I thought he did a really good job. And not minimizing his role because he's in a communication position, a leadership position, and I thought he handled it really well. Wasn't shocking just because of the kind of guy he is. He got voted to the leadership group without ever being a starter here, and he's done such a great job on special teams. He's so conscientious and just has an unbelievably great attitude. So he's really respected, and but you're always wondering how a guy's going to play. Obviously, it's his first time in that role, but I thought he did a really nice job, and sure he'll be ready to go again this week.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. Going back to Reese Vanderzee, we haven't seen a whole lot of him since the end of last season. I guess, what did he look like during fall camp, and kind of the jump that you had seen him make from freshman to sophomore year?
Yeah, really good, and that's you could say the same. I talked about Zach earlier, Lutmer. These are guys you see during practice. You watch them growing and getting along. I can say the same thing about T.J. Hall. All of a sudden, NFL guys are asking about him, and rightfully so. Whereas a year ago, probably not, and but if you're doing it right, and I say you, the player, if the players are doing it right, if they're working hard and really, they've got requisite ability, which all 3 of the guys we just talked about certainly have enough of that. If they're really working at it and studying it and putting the effort in, they're going to improve as players, and that's a fun part about coaching is watching guys like TJ having a great year as an older guy. And Zach is starting to get the hang of it. Carson Char is a senior, and I would argue he's played better the last 2 games than he has, certainly at any point in his career. But he's getting used to the speed and the spacing of things and all that, and so his abilities are starting to really come through. And same thing with Reese. It's just, I think, a matter of him being on the field and getting work. And as he does that, it's just going to he'll keep climbing the ladder because he still is a really young player.
Corey Brada. Kind of a 2-part question. Andy Kolanecki, what can you tell us about him? I think his first ever coaching job was for Don Patterson at Western. How well do you know his offensive attack? And then also, kind of second part of that, you've coached against a number of interim guys over the years, I'm sure. Does it feel like in those games guys are auditioning for jobs? Do you feel like there might be a chance that they're going to be taking shots trying to win jobs for this coming year?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Only because I was thinking my first answer was going to be no. But I can remember one of our worst losses since I've been here. We went up to Minnesota, whatever year it would have been. And the first thing I said Tuesday in our team meeting at that time, we had our team meetings on Tuesday, was, it's the last game. They've got an interim head coach. And if they onside kick on the first play, let's not be surprised. They could do anything. And sure enough, they onside kicked, and we acted like, we were all retreating faster than we were allergic to the football. And that was a bad sign of where we were at in that game. That would have been 2010. In that game, because it was the last game sooner. In this game, I don't think so. I think they're going to come in here and play the way they play, and they're going to play really well. So we got to be ready for that. And I think typically, the idea is just to pull things together and let's keep moving forward, I would guess. But I don't want to speak for somebody else in that situation. What was the other question? I really don't know him that much other than I just know of his reputation, and rightfully, what they did at Kansas and are continuing to do is really amazing because that program was not healthy, when they came down from Buffalo, the entire staff, and they've done a wonderful job there, and he was a big part of that. And then, Coach Grimes, who was at Wisconsin last week, is at Wisconsin, was in that system, and they worked together too. So I think he followed Andy in there. So there's some similar DNA, but it's not the same, and the players are different. So, just got a week to get ready, like every game. So we'll see what we can do, and hopefully be ready to go. Okay, thank you. See you guys Saturday.